Hi everyone, I'm back, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your support and your lovely comments that you've been making over the tutorial videos and things. I want to apologize also for not updating you with the album. I've been having some health issues lately. I have an autoimmune disease that kind of zaps my energy and makes it so I can't think right. I can barely stay awake during the day, and so I guess I'm kind of in remission where I'm actually having some energy and I can think better and get some things done that I need to do. So, if you haven't already stopped by my blog and seen the front of the cover, this is what it looks like. I used the Spiral Blossoms die from Stampin' Up! To make the roses here. This is one of their doilies that I distressed a lot with some soft suede ink. This is one of the pieces of paper from the paper collection that I'm using, the Afternoon Picnic paper collection. Here are some of the vintage buttons, and I put some linen thread through the holes. This is some of the Victoria trim here, and I put a little safety pin on the ribbon to keep it folded over. Here's an antique brad that I used, and then I have these two, this is the crumb cake seam binding. It's kind of hard showing up on the film, but it's a light brown. And then on the side I used, sorry, here we go. This is backwards for me. So this is another piece of paper from the paper collection. It's actually the same piece of paper that I used from the front of the book. And then I took some of the, I think Bermuda Bay, is that what this is? Coastal Cabana, sorry. The Coastal Cabana cardstock. And I used a scallop paper, or a scallop punch, to do a little border, and then the punch has little dots on each of the rounds. So that's the front, and I don't know if it's showing up really well. I don't think it is at all, but I used some of the Glimmer Mist to make it a little bit shimmery. So I haven't completed the book. I thought I would show you the pages that I have made, and then I can kind of walk you through the last couple of pages that I have to decorate. So you open it up, and this is the first page. This is one of the papers from the paper collection that I just matted. And for the covers, I like to keep the little border of the page or the cover to be very thin. I like to have the majority of that part being the designer paper or the cardstock. This is the large scallop oval. Let me zoom in here a little bit so you can see better. It's a large scallop oval, and I've distressed it, and I also put it on a layer, or it has a piece of lightweight chipboard. It's about the thickness of a cereal box or something. You could use a cereal box. Goodness knows you're covering the whole thing up, so you won't be able to tell that that's what it came from, but I just picked up some at Michael's. And these flowers are from Recollections, and then I just distressed them with some of the saffron ink. Not distressed, but just inked them up with the saffron ink. And here's the first page. This page is one of the flat pages. Let me zoom out again. There we go. I tied some Pear Pizzazz seam binding, and I believe that's discontinued, if I'm not mistaken. But Pear Pizzazz isn't discontinued, so it goes with the other greens in the paper collection. And I used the Stampin' Up's border punch here to stamp, or to punch the edge of the flap. And then I just used some very vanilla cardstock to cover the inside of this flap. I also used some soft suede ink to go around the edges on all of the papers. And here's some more paper from the paper collection. And then I put a magnet. Before I mounted the papers, I used some of the basic gray magnets underneath all the flaps, so you can kind of hear that click noise. This is another page. I think this is my favorite page out of the ones I've done. I love this color. It's my favorite color, I think, that's current right now, which is the Coastal Cabana. But I took the Pansy Punch. See, sometimes I can talk. The Pansy Punch, and I took the stamp set that goes with it, which is the That's the Petite Petals. Where we go? Let's see. It's hiding from me. Flower Shop. The Flower Shop stamp set. And this has the coordinating punch. That's this one here. And then I used the one that looks kind of like the more realistic flower. The other ones kind of have other designs on the inside of it. And I used that. I used the Coastal Cabana ink to stamp 2 of those, and then I used the Petite Petals, which is this stamp set, and then this punch. And I did 2 more layers of that using the same colors. And then I used one little punch from the Itty Bitty Punch Pack. This itty bitty scalloped circle. I think, yeah, you can see that one. And then I cut in from the scallops. See the little, I cut in each just a tiny bit so it will kind of give it a little more dimension, and then stuck a little tiny pearl on the inside. And then it's all distressed with the soft suede ink. I made a belly band here, and then I put a little tag on the inside. And then this is kind of like a placeholder. Sometimes when the belly bands, they're not tight, so the tag will slide right on. It'll just keep going and going and going and going and fall all the way out. So I put a little place card or a placeholder type thing to kind of help it stop. And then I added another flap page. This is the page that's blank. This one didn't have any element or any add-ons on it, but I did put this little kind of like a gatefold pocket or gatefold page where it opens up, and it's just blank on the inside, and this is some piece of vanilla, very vanilla. And I also put a magnet underneath here. And then this, the top one is a little bit longer. I added a scallop punch. You can see, it's kind of hard to see. Get some paper underneath here to see if that helps see the holes there. And then, so this one's just a little bit longer, so that's what helps keep it, the bottom one, from opening up too. So there's that. And then this is another page. This is one of the pocket page, or the page that we put the pocket on. I made a little booklet, I guess, out of some of the cardstock that they had, using the elements from that, and it opens up and it has kind of like a little how to buy tea for that. It's just kind of a fun little element to it. And then I used I cut a doily in half and then put it half on this side and half on the bottom and distressed it quite a bit. And then on this side, it just has a simple little tag. This is made out of the Wisteria Wonder. And then I took another doily and folded it in half and put a semicircle on that side, and this is the back. So it's really sweet. And then the background is just the Pear Pizzazz. This page, I haven't made a tag for this yet, but this is like the hexagon punch with the, what's that stamp set called? The 6-sided sampler. I used the stamps. This is the Wisteria Wonder, Coastal Cabana, and So Saffron, and this is Pear Pizzazz. And I used, I punched them out, and then I layered them. Or the stamp is slightly small, or let's see, it leaves a border, I guess. So I cut the border off, so that way that the matching cardstock that I had layered underneath it would be showing a little bit. And then on this side, I made a rosette and put it on top of one of the, this is the large Sizzlet, the large doily Sizzlet. And I used a coffee filter. So it's very light. It's heavier than tissue paper, but it's lighter than cardstock or pattern paper. It just kind of gives it a nice airy feel. I'm sorry, this isn't showing up very well. But I used, this is from the Thinlits Label card collection, sorry. And then I stamped the word friends, and that comes out of the Sweet Essentials stamp set. And that's a really great stamp set too. And the rosette is made using the same paper as is on this side. And then the bottom just has a piece of Wisteria Wonder that I've rounded the edges on and added 3 little tiny saffron flowers. And the inside opens up like this. And it's just blank. And so these pages are so great. I didn't want to add too much to it because I knew that people wanted to add photos to it. I mean, the point of this whole album is to have something great that you can stick great photos in. So, this is the last page that I've decorated, but I've made a little, this is an oval. It's the scallop oval that I used in the beginning of the album, and I tied some ribbon on it, and then this little Coastal Cabana is, I open it, so it kind of reminds me of a locket. I don't know, I've always wanted to have a locket and have, you know, my husband's picture on one side and then my kids on the other, or something like that. I think I like that idea. That's what it reminds me of, and I couldn't think of any other way besides using magnets, but I kind of wanted to add some more ribbon and things to this. So this is mounted on dimensionals, so the ribbon can slide in and out. Just be careful that you don't slide it all the way out, because you'll have a hard time getting that back on. So I'll just tie it kind of sloppily for now. Kind of never looks as nice when you don't have 10 minutes to fuss with it. And then this side just has, it's plain. This is the pattern paper. It's really light. I don't know if you can see. That's the design on it, but it's the whole page is that. And then I used the same scallop border from Stampin' Up. So what we have left is this blank page. I have quite a bit of paper left. I've been really conservative with it because I wanted to make sure I had enough paper to use some for all the pages. Oh, before I forget to show you, I wanted to keep the little inserts for the pocket for in here really simple. So what I did was I cut some very vanilla cardstock to size, well actually to a little bit bigger than size, because I wanted to punch out one of the edges so you can stick it inside the pocket, and then it pokes out and it looks really lacy and really pretty, and I think it goes with my paper collection really well. If you're using a different paper collection, maybe you don't want to use something lacy like that. You can use a tab punch or something to use to help pull it out, or you can just use a circle punch and cut a notch out so you can pull it if you wanted to have the card be flush with the pocket. So I wanted to keep these out of the way so they didn't accidentally get inked up or anything before I was finished making the album. So that is the walkthrough for what I have done so far. I have some ideas about what I'm going to do on these pages, so if you want to stick around, please do so. I'm going to use the So Saffron, and then I'm going to use some of the cardstock of this pattern. I haven't used this at all. I've used this side, but I haven't used this side at all in the album. So I was going to use this and make a envelope with it. And I'm thinking about making an envelope that'll sit on this side of the album, and then just mat this and make a card or a tag for that. And when you're making your tags, you can make them any size you want. There's no method. I mean, you can't make it obviously too big to fit in. But what I do is I generally just make the tag probably about anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch narrower than the pocket, and then anywhere in between. You can have it sticking out past the top of your album if you wanted to, or have it just be coming right, barely peeking out of the pocket there. So really, there's no rhyme or reason. It's your album. You do it how you want. That's what I love about mini albums, is there's not really a formula other than the construction. You might want to follow someone's guidelines, but there's no rules. Just do what you want. So what I'm going to do, I think, is put this piece on this side after I ink it up with some soft suede ink. Let's get that out. Find my very used sponge somewhere here amongst all my things. Here we go. It's very well loved. Love this ink. And then this, I think this color is so bright compared to the other colors that are in the collection. So I'm going to kind of, I don't say dirty it up, but make it a little more grungy than I normally would have. Just to, I mean, because it's it'll help soften it up quite a bit. Even use your desk and get it dirty like that. And the way I have most of my pages, they look distressed. They don't look, I'm trying to make it look like it's something that's been around for a while, so it looks like it's aged a little bit. And you don't have to do the whole thing if you're planning, because I'm planning on putting an envelope. Sorry, this is way out of frame. Here we go. See how it looks more aged around the center, or on the outside, and then it's a little lighter on the center. So when I put my envelope on, you won't be able to tell that it wasn't completely distressed. So I'm going to use my envelope punch board. And if you haven't gotten one of these things, you are missing out. There are so many fun things to do with this. Yeah, I use it all the time. I love it. So our envelope is going to be 3 by 4.5. So for a 3 by 4.5 envelope, you need a 6.5 by 6.5 piece of paper. And then you're going to score at 2 3/4. So I'm going to get my trusty little bone folder scoring tool that they give with you on your 2 3/4. It comes with it. So you punch and score very gently. The cardstock or the pattern paper is it's a little fragile, and then you don't want to score too hard, and you don't want to tear the paper. So all you do is you match up the previous score mark with this little tail here. Punch and score. And then you match it up again, and you punch and score. And then you flip it around, and then it has the little corner rounder on this edge. So you stick that in and punch. And punch. And I haven't decided which orientation I'm having the envelope open on, so I'm just going to go ahead and punch all 4 corners. And that's it. And see these tiny little pieces of paper? That's all the waste. It's like barely more than 2 square inches worth of paper you're not using. So I'm going to use this for the outside. So you turn it over, and then you just fold very gently on the score lines. On the Retro Fresh album I made the envelope more like a legal envelope, I think is what they're called, policy envelope, where it opens on the short side instead of the long side. But I think, let's see, if we have it like this, it'll cover up most of the paper, but if we have it on its side, there'll be all this empty space. Let's see here. I wish you guys were with me here and you could answer my question if I should have it going. Actually, let's refold these so it's, I want to be the best, like this, there. I don't know, that looks kind of weird. So, this way or this way? So if we had it this way, we can add something on top. They can have another photo up there. Let's see. I wonder if there's something I can add onto it. I had some cutouts from that piece of there's a piece of paper in there. This one has a bunch of fun things you can cut out. Like this is what I used for the title here, and then I've used appliances for the proper making of tea. This is what I used for the little booklet. I have this cut out somewhere. If I can find it. It's one of the hazards of being a creative and crafty person is your desk is a mess almost all of the time. At least mine is. I know here it is. I have a hard time putting things away if I know I'm just going to come back to it. So would that look, yeah, I think I'll just do that. Because I've been looking for somewhere to put this, and then this will fit going that way. What do you think? Yay or nay? Thumbs up, yes or no? Okay, I think I heard a yes. So let's ink this up a little bit. We'll actually, let's see. We'll ink it up first and then we will assemble it because we want to make sure we get all the edges sponged a bit. So again, I'm using some soft suede ink and just very gently because you don't want to be so rough with the envelope or the pattern paper. It's a little more fragile than the cardstock. Cardstock is very sturdy. My 3-year-old son is watching Thomas the Train, so we might have an interruption when his video stops. Who doesn't love Thomas? The perfect babysitter for when you need to get some things done around the house too, don't you think? Then I also like to ink the creases too. Just a little bit to make it look worn. If you like a clean and crisp album, then by all means skip this step, but my intention is for it to look a little bit tattered. Okay, I'm trying to think if I want to tap. I think I'm going to cut across here, make a little marks so I know where to trim. That way the corners match really nicely with the sides. So you can either use glue or a snail or glue dots, which is probably what I'm going to use since they are so fast. Or you can use sticky strip even, but I think these will work well. Where's my little paper piercer? It's missing. Use my X-Acto knife, that'll work. So then I think the best way to do it is to put the adhesive on the bottom layer because you know the top layer will cover it. But if you put it on here, I don't know. That's just how I like to do it. Don't change your method if it's working for you. And I will probably put 3 on here, on each flap. 1 on the bottom, the middle, and the top for each flap. I don't know if you can hear. My son is 3.5 and he is in love with Thomas. So it's good. Better than some of the other things I guess kids are into these days. Okay, so this is the envelope done. Isn't that just darling? I love using the double-sided papers because you can get 2 different looks. And there we go. Yeah. So let's go ahead and attach that. Because this is an interactive element, I guess, I'm going to use some score tape to attach it just because I know that's a lot stronger. You could use wet glue, but I fear that using the amount of glue you would need to, it might make the pages kind of ripple. And you won't have to wait for it to dry. So I'm just going to put score tape all along on the outside. And just get it done. And if you have trouble getting the liner off, I always like to either use my paper piercer or my X-Acto knife, my craft knife. Just be very careful. I've been doing this a long time, so I've kind of gotten the feel for how to do it, but be careful. Alright, so I'm going to want to center this, but towards the bottom. And I like to give it about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch. Sorry, I keep missing the frame. So see how there's just a little bit on the bottom and a little bit on the sides, because we are going to be adding this other element here on the top. Like that. So But for this one, you can just use your snail or your ATG, which is what I'm going to do. I love my ATG. I didn't like it at first, but man, going through those little runners when you're just making an album, you probably would go through 4 or 5 of them to do an album. Alright. If you're doing cards, that's one thing, because you don't need as much adhesive as you'd need for a card. But okay, so now you're just going to want to center this again, kind of leaving a little space in between the envelope, and then leaving a little space between the top, and then just center it as the best you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. This album's for you, unless you're giving it away. But I always think if this is your first album, you might as well keep it. And that was kind of a fun memento to have. I know some of the first albums that I've made are kind of atrocious. They're kind of sloppy looking, I think, just because I wanted to get it done. But now I like to take my time. This is my me time. This is what I do when I want to relax. And this shouldn't stress you out. Don't let your hobby stress you out. This is your time. This is what should give you pleasure. Alright, so now we're mounting it onto the paper. Or onto mounting the paper onto the page. Just like that. And I don't always build the papers and then mount it. Sometimes I put the cardstock down and then I put everything on top of it. It just depends how I'm working, I guess. So there's this page. Ta-da! And you can make a card and slip it inside. You know, some of these things I've left pretty plain and blank because they're intended for photos. So if you wanted to have this pocket left open for some memorabilia, like say you went to go see a play, or you went to an amusement park or something and you wanted to have somewhere to put your memorabilia, leave it blank and then stick all your goodies inside. Okay, so for this side, I had an idea of using, obviously, some patterned paper, but just, I think I'll stick this part inside the pocket, like that, and then have some more yellow, or the So Saffron on the bottom, on the pocket part. And then I have a, it's not a sentiment, but it's one of the little sayings from the paper collection. And it is lost, and we will have to find it. So I would love to see your albums. If you're making an album with me and you are using the tutorial and you're using some great paper, I would love to see a picture of it. If you wanted to make a video and share it on YouTube and tag me in the video, or do a video response showing your album, that would be awesome. I would be thrilled to see. Or if you want to email me some photos of it, or stop at my blog and tell me to go to your blog to look at your photos, that would be great. I would love to see what you're creating. And I also would love to find the piece of paper I'm looking for. I think I might have to cut it out again. Oh my goodness. And of course I will probably find it right after I'm done using it. Let's see. This is why I should have a clean craft room, though. You know, oh, here it is, of course, on the other side of my desk. Okay, so I'm going to take this, probably put the kettle on. We'll all have tea. Do you remember that song from elementary school? I do. Let's put it to some good use. I'm going to trim it off using my paper trimmer. And then we'll mount it onto some of the So Saffron cardstock. So this is about, looks like about 3/4 of an inch wide. This is a good width. You don't want it to be too wide to take up the entire thing. And I think I'm just going to snip it in half right after the on, and then see if I can take the little hyphen out. I'll be brave and freehand it. too bad. It's a little crooked though here. There. And then I will just get some, let's see what size should that be. I love using my Tim Holtz ruler to figure out how, because it's clear, so you can see right through it to figure out how big. So this pocket, I never remember the measurements. It's 5.5, and I think it's 3.5. 3.5. So I will do 5.25 by 3.25 to mat that. And my paper trimmer. It's always disappearing. 3.25. 5.25. Alright. I'm going to distress it some more. Oh, let's cut out the piece for here. And what I like to do when I'm matting a page that's on top of a or that's under a pocket is always cut it so that the paper comes below the pocket. The inside has the little flaps, and so if you mount the paper so it goes over the flaps, your tags won't they won't bump into that. It'll be all smooth all the way down. So that's what I like to do. So it's 5.5 this way, and let's go for, say, 1 inch below. So 1 inch below would be 4 3/4. So 5.5 by 4 3/4. And some of the patterns, they have writing that goes certain ways, but this one has writing that goes this way and all different ways, so it doesn't really matter. So what I say, 5.5 by 4 3/4, right? I'm almost forgetting what I just said. Oops, that's a scoring blade. There we go. Okay, now let's ink this. This is the one. Let's ink them up. Get some more ink. Just appeared. Here we go. I'm going to ink the little sentiment, or the little little papers here too. Makes it match the rest of the book. Okay, oops, this one too. I like to get the yellow one. Remember, you want to get a little bit heavier on the distress, just because I think that this color is really, really bright compared to the rest of the colors in this collection. So I want to dull it down just a tiny bit. Let's see, I can work on it on the desk a little bit too.